Deion Sanders' twist on Colorado spring game is a blueprint Ohio State should adopt.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a hump day edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. During today's show, we'll dive into Ohio State's QB battle with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football, as well as CJ Hicks' transition to defensive end. But first, the spring game is one of those times of year that we all love. A lot of spring games are going to be on national television, and it's going to bring a lot of eyeballs to certain teams and what they might be in the fall. And Ohio State's no different. The spring game last year was on Fox. The spring showcase this year, I'm sure, will be on TV. And every now and then you might need to change things up to make your team better. And Deion Sanders has a great idea for Colorado spring game. Bring another team in, practice against them for a few days, and then scrimmage them on national TV to cap off your spring game. And that's a blueprint that I do believe would be perfect for Ohio State. Bring another team in, scrimmage, practice against them for a few days, and then scrimmage them on your 15th practice, which would be your spring game. And I think it'll be a great way to see what your football team has at this point of year to help you be better in the fall. And that's one that I think is going to be an idea that a lot of coaches like Ryan Day will push back against and say, if we do that, our guys are going to get pulled into the portal and they're going to get tampered with. Well, newsflash, they're getting tampered with anyway. And it's not because of the spring game. No, they're getting tampered with because they're really talented and schools all around the country are going to try to get them. Maybe they weren't able to get them when they were in high school, but now when they're in college and the portal is what it is, they can go out there and try to scoop them up. So tampering is going to happen with the spring game, with Deion Sanders' idea of a spring game or a spring showcase. Tampering is going to happen. It's a part of the sport. Now, this idea is more of an NFL model where you see during fall camp in numerous NFL teams, you'll see them bring a team in, or your favorite team will go somewhere else and scrimmage against another team for a day or two before playing that same team in a preseason game. Now, it's scripted. You'll see the starting quarterbacks a lot of times get more reps in the team-on-team scrimmages than you will in the preseason game, which is great. And I still think if you do that, you could bring a Bowling Green in, or you could bring a Youngstown State in, or bring a team from a different state, maybe from a G5 or FCS level that you probably wouldn't play in a regular season, but you bring them in, you allow your players to get some extra run, and you allow yourself to see a look at your team against another team that you normally wouldn't be able to see. Because one thing we all know about spring football is that the older guys are going to get some run, but the younger guys are going to get more. But by maybe day 2 or maybe day 5 or day 8, you get tired of hitting the same guy over and over and over. And as a coach, you realize those two guys going head-to-head, they know each other so well. They know what the next guy's move is going to be, and they realize there's only so much you can do right now to make that guy better. But then to bring somebody else in, then it goes into the psychological part of football, not so much the physical part, to where you're doing an NFL model. We see this all over the National Football League. Do NFL coaches that worry about injuries? Yes. But are injuries always going to be a part of the game? Absolutely. Think about the spring games you've been to, or just maybe you watched over the past few years. And think about this question. Has there been a spring game you've watched where a player has been injured? I can think of one right now. Has there been an Ohio State player that has gotten hurt that has been outside of the spring game, but it wasn't in a traditional practice? I can think of one right now. Those things are going to happen. Injuries are a part of the game. There are non-contact injuries that happen in the game and outside of the game. There are people that may go snowboarding and have unfortunate injuries. Those things are going to happen. And so if the pushback by you is, well, maybe somebody's going to get hurt, that's going to happen anyway. No matter if you bring another team in or if you don't. But bringing another team in, there are so many benefits, not just for the players, but also for the coaches that make this thing happen. And Deion Sanders had the idea, and I think Fran Brown of Syracuse said, yes, we'll go to you and play you. Now, Colorado spring game will be televised by ESPN2 on the 19th. And so that may be a big reason why Deion Sanders is saying this. We're going to be on national TV. We're going to get a lot of eyeballs. People have been more tapped into Colorado football than they have been over the past 20 years. So why not take advantage of this opportunity and allow us to get some work against somebody else and allow them to get better, allow us to get better, and benefit by us playing on ESPN2. There's nothing wrong with that. The pushback for the injuries, no. Coaches, you're able to actually work on your game planning too. For a guy like Brian Hartline, this opportunity would be huge for him. You're not going up against the same guys over and over and over where you know that player's move. You know how to take advantage of him. You can get real spring experience game planning and calling plays against somebody else, while also getting your starters and your backups a lot of meaningful reps, more meaningful reps than they would be doing a traditional spring practice. Let's just say in this scenario, you get 3 practices against another team. You can do 2 practices, your 13th and 14th practices against another team, and then that 15th practice is your spring game. You and the other school could align your schedules up to make sure practices 13 and 14 are against each other, and then the 15th bring the spring game. That could help another team get a whole lot more attention, or could help somebody financially get a whole lot more money. There's a whole lot of things that benefit. Now, for the fan, when you hear a spring showcase at Ohio State, you might say, Jay, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I want the spring game the way it's normally been. Me and my family have always gone to the spring game, and it's been a family affair. The tickets are affordable for a family of 4 or 5 or 6. Now, at that point, you get a little bit hefty. I think tickets this year for the general admission seats are about $15. So if we think about a family of 4, that's $60 just to get in. That's still cheaper than one ticket during the season. So already advantage. If you're from out of state, you may say, well, we could go out there and save our money, go to the spring game and get a hotel, make a weekend trip out of it. Maybe you want to go to Saddle Up after the spring game and celebrate with Ryan Day and the other players and coaches after the spring game with a country concert. That's great. There's a whole lot of things that could benefit for the fans by doing this. Yes, it's an NFL type of experience for college football players. Isn't that what they want before they get to the top league in the sport? Absolutely. If you can better prepare your players right now for the next level, you should do it. And Ryan Day can, Matt Patricia can, Brian Hartline can, and this model that Deion Sanders proposed, the twist on the traditional spring game, by bringing somebody else in, practicing against them for a few days, and then going and scrimmaging against them with the spring game, that would be great. Practices, all of them would be scripted, so both teams be on the same page, as well as the spring game, so you're not having somebody's starters go up against somebody's third string. That would be stupid. But this idea is not stupid, and it's a blueprint that Ohio State should adopt to help their team prepare in the spring for what's coming up in the fall. What's coming up in the fall is CJ Hicks playing a new position, and there's one key area I think you need to tap into before playing defensive end week 1 against Texas. I'll dive into that next. This episode is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. This episode is also brought to you by Fabric by Gerber Life. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, I want to make sure my family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives me the peace of mind. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at fabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Thank y'all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Just as Deion Sanders' twist on the spring game is one that's outside of the box, but maybe not as outside of the box as some might think, CJ Hicks moving to defensive end isn't as outside of the box as it might hit some people when it was announced. When Larry Johnson said that CJ Hicks went to his room to work with the defensive ends, I was thinking it's about time. It's not so much about time because CJ Hicks will not be a good outside linebacker at some point. It's that his best position is probably playing defensive end, putting him on the edge, and let homie rush the passer. Now, while doing that, there are certain things that are going to be a part of his transition to playing this position. Matt Patricia coming in and having experience working with guys that are great on the edge, being the traditional outside backer, I think that's a massive benefit for CJ Hicks. But also, not only would a new twist to spring practice benefit CJ Hicks, getting his weight up would help as well. CJ Hicks is currently listed. I'm on ESPN.com, which is the same as Ohio State's website. 6'3", 233 pounds. Nothing wrong with that. A solid player. He has the height. He has the weight. But if he's going to play on the edge and be on the edge exclusively, my gut tells me he's going to have to gain roughly 5 to 10 pounds. Anywhere, really between 240 and 245. So 7 to 12 pounds, I think is where we're going to be going right now, is probably the ideal weight gain for CJ Hicks. And over the next few months, not weeks, that can happen. Now, you can gain 7 to 12 pounds over the next few weeks, but doing that during spring practice means you're putting in a lot into your body, and your body is holding on to it. While if you do that over the next few months, you can slow roll that process. You can put on the right type of mass. You can do everything to help you maintain your speed and your leverage off the edge, which is going to benefit him in a big way in the fall. And Hicks is not the only player that could benefit from a weight adjustment. I want to say a weight gain. I legit want to say a weight adjustment. Thinking about CJ Donaldson coming to Ohio State. Not saying he's a bad weight right now, but adjusting his weight and declining a little bit could help him be a better back at Ohio State. Well, for Hicks, I think going up is the move. He's going to be going up against tackles that outweigh him by 100 pounds. Now, they aren't just outweighing him by 100 pounds. Many of these guys have been playing this position for a very long time. So not just the weight gain, but just the longevity of playing the position, they're going to be able to figure out what Hicks is going to do before Hicks makes a counter move. But also they have some tricks of the trade that Hicks has never seen. And so when I think about what CJ Hicks might be as a player, I think he is going to be one of those guys that is going to flourish by game 4 and game 5. Game 1's against Texas, which is already going to be one of the tougher season openers Ohio State's had in recent memory. And so that's already going to be one where, yeah, you can show it off there. But what do you do against a Grambling State? What do you do against another non-conference team that's not at Texas level? What do you do once you get into Big Ten play? What do you do against Penn State or against Wisconsin on the road at Camp Randall? What do you do against a team up north? What do you do against this team or that team? What do you do? There's so many questions people are going to have to answer or ask, and his play is going to let that question be answered. But getting his weight up is going to be key. I also wonder if the timing of this is going to be a positive for his career when he's going to the National Football League or going to try to get drafted at the end of this upcoming season, or if the timing is going to be a negative for him. I don't have the answer to that. I got a lot of answers. I don't have all the answers, and that's one I'm not sure about. Because one season of playing a position is great. In college basketball, you see guys that are one and done, or all of a sudden they get their time to shine, and bam, they turn that into being an NBA player. All you need is 1 year. Some guys, all they need is 1 year in high school, and all of a sudden, bam, they're going to the NBA. Old school rules there. But I do think for CJ Hicks, 2 years at this position would be great. Now, the NCAA could grant him a 5th year, I would think. I'm not sure how, but I know that they could do whatever they want to. And so, yes, there's a real-life scenario that's not likely, but the NCAA could allow him and grant him a 5th year of playing college football. And if that were to happen, then you're looking at a different CJ Hicks in 2026. But we can't go that far yet because we got to get through this upcoming season. Now, let's go back to Deion Sanders' twist on the spring game, Colorado spring game, trying to bring somebody in, and Fran Brown of Syracuse saying, yeah, we'll come. Now, I wasn't expecting another G5 school, another power conference school to say, yeah, we'll travel across country. Will Colorado pay, or what's going to happen financially? I'm not sure. I know in regular non-conference games, if you are the home team, you have to pay that team to come to you. Yes. When Texas is coming to Ohio State is going to give out some money. I know a few years ago, and it was home-and-home series between Notre Dame and Georgia. Yes, the host school had to pay there. It's one of the weird things about the sport. I understand why it's there. I think there's a better way to make that thing happen, but this is where we are in college football. This is the way the cookie crumbles. And for the cookie to crumble this way, I do think it would be great for Ohio State, for a player like CJ Hicks, if they could get some run against certain players right now from a different team to get a different look. I think it would be great, and they could benefit from that, utilizing that at the end of spring practice, and then looking at all the film, learning some things, spending some time in the summer months, working on some different moves and getting some coaches to help you out. There are so many beneficial things that could help these guys by getting another team into Ohio State to play. Now, here's one thing I didn't say earlier that I want to leave you with before I cross over with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. Let's just say you are the away team. Those fans that are missing a home spring game would either have to travel or stay home to watch that thing on TV, and that's not the best for the fan at all. It's not. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it and say it is. As fans, one thing I will say is that let's just say Ohio State traveled to another school for a spring game to scrimmage them. You would miss out on that spring game being in the shoe. There could also be a scenario where you could find schools realizing we could do both. Travel somewhere and then also host in a 15 practice session in the spring. That could happen too. So let's just say for CJ Hicks, let's keep him as a subject. Ohio State has a period, practices 6 through 8, where they travel somewhere else to practice against another team, and then practices 13 to 15. They stay home and practice against another team. That would be huge. That's also a moneymaker. And if you know one thing about college football, the decision makers are all about the Benjamins, and they will be chomping at the bit to try to find a way to make some money while Ohio State travels somewhere else for a scrimmage and Ohio State hosts a school for a scrimmage. It's unorthodox because it's not normal for a college football team to do this, but I think all of them could benefit from this twist to the spring game, while players like CJ Hicks playing a new position would benefit from it too. We're all going to benefit from a crossover with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. I was recently on his show talking about Ohio State's QB battle, and that conversation is coming at you next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Once again, that's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
The reigning national champs will have a new quarterback next year. Who will that quarterback be? We don't know, and that's why spring football is great. Jay Stevens, also great, of Locked On Buckeyes, joining me here on the show. You got all sorts of names in that room, Jay. You've got Julian Sayin, you've got Tavien St. Clair. Is it just those two guys? Anybody else in the mix? Like, what's going on here in Columbus?
Those are two of the guys that are in the mix. You can't forget the oldest man in the room being Lincoln Kienholz. He is a Buckeye that has progressed a lot during his time at Ohio State. But Julian Sayin is a guy that Will Howard praised when he was at the NFL Combine. Other former Buckeyes praised Julian Sayin's arm talent and saying it's his time now. Now, Sayin has to still go out there and win the job, but when you're getting high praise from guys that are about to get drafted into the National Football League, that's pretty big. Sayin's release, his ability to process very, very quickly are two of the reasons why I believe he's going to win the job, but he has to go out there and do it on the field. 15 spring practices, continue that work throughout the summer, in the fall camp, and Ryan Day's probably going to name a starting quarterback between weeks 2 and 3 of fall camp. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Buckeye fans have to wait a little bit longer before Ryan Day names a starting quarterback. There's 3 names in the room and 3 names in the battle, but there's truly only one guy that many people believe is going to win the job. That's Julian Sayin.
Can Sayin be expected to perform at the same level that Will Howard did last year? I thought Howard would have a career year. He did. Of course, led Ohio State to their first national championship since the 2014-15 season. And I just look at what he was able to do, particularly down the stretch, Jay. I don't know which first-year starter in all of college football is really capable of that.
No, I do not put him on that pedestal. One thing that Will Howard had in his bag was multiple years of playing there at Kansas State that allowed him to be ready for Ohio State last year, had to work on his mechanics and really work to perform with players that are a lot faster and better than what he had at Kansas State. I think Sayin or whoever, I'm just going to assume he's going to be the starter, or whoever the starting quarterback is at Ohio State in the fall, is probably going to have more of a CJ Stroud start to their career. CJ Stroud was very close to losing to Minnesota during his first start of his career, followed that up, as you know so well, to a loss to Oregon, and then all of a sudden he missed the game. Some say it was due to injury. Some say maybe he was about to lose his job. He came back after that and played phenomenal football, but there were some early season growing pains. And I do think for Sayin or Kienholz, I don't think St. Clair is going to win the job. These are true freshmen. That's not going to happen. I do think there's going to be some early season growing pains, and You might see an early season loss, maybe to a Big Ten school, maybe to Texas in week 1. But those types of things are going to help whoever that guy is to start for the Buckeyes at quarterback. It's going to help them be a better quarterback at the end of the day.
When you look at what Sayin brings to the table, the physical traits are immense. He's going to have the best wide receiver in college football to throw to. If he starts for 2 years, those guys could have quite the chemistry. He and Jeremiah Smith, of course, who I'm referring to, by the time the 2026 season gets underway. But do you think he has a situation around him, assuming that it is Sayin? I'll ask you more about that in a moment. But if he winds up starting this year for the Buckeyes, this is a unit that has lost 4 offensive linemen, 1 wide receiver to Mekabuku to the NFL draft, a bunch of guys on defense. Like, what can actually be expected of the new Buckeyes quarterback?
To figure it out throughout the season, similar to what I just mentioned, you have Jeremiah Smith. You also have Max Clair, the transfer tight end from Purdue.
By the way, one of my favorite pickups in the entire country. I wanted Oregon to get him. The moment I watched the Ducks play Purdue on a Friday night, I watched that guy for like 2 plays and said, dude, I want him. I want that guy. And Ohio State didn't use the tight ends a ton this past year. Max Clair is that guy.
Hey, so you mentioned Oregon. I got a little beef with Oregon, too. A couple years
Wow, you beat him in the Rose Bowl. Who cares?
You guys got no boy from Michigan State. All of a sudden, oh, no, he's going out to Oregon. And then this year, I was very high on one of Max Clair's former teammates, and Dylan Finneman. Y'all got him, too. So not only do you get a couple guys hey, we got a tight end. You could have had a safety that would have been a great pair for Caleb Downs.
Because Ohio State's lacking in the safety department, right?
Hey, man, they're rotating right now at safety because they don't know who Caleb Downs' running mate's going to be. What was the question, Spencer? I got so annoyed by the Oregon comment.
The question was the support system around whoever Ohio State's starting quarterback is when you're changing 3 or 4 offensive linemen and an NFL caliber wideout.
The support system is one that it's going to be benefited not only because the Max Clair's there, but Ohio State got a couple of offensive tackles out of the portal that are going to help these young men, whoever the starting quarterback is, get up to speed. Ohio State also is going to have more depth on the offensive line, where in past years when you put a first-time starting quarterback out there, they're working behind an offensive line that doesn't have depth or doesn't have experience, and everyone's trying to put it all together at the same time. I also think the addition of CJ Donaldson is going to help whoever the quarterback is use the running game to help that quarterback slowly move into the game. If you go into a season with an offensive line that has no depth and no experience, running backs that aren't able to get the job done, while you have elite guys on the outside, you're going to struggle. But I do think Ohio State supporting cast, not just on the outside, but on the interior, on the offensive line, it's going to help the young quarterback do a lot of good things. But I truly expect some early season struggles. They may not result in losses, but I expect them to struggle. But those struggles are going to help them at the end of the day because winning is tough. I mean, winning a game as a starting quarterback is hard. And then you add in you're going up against Texas, who was a national semifinalist a year ago that Ohio State beat in the Cotton Bowl. That just adds fuel to the fire and why that game, win or loss, is going to be a struggle for the Buckeye starting quarterback.
Assign percentages to each of the 3 quarterbacks. Tavien St. Clair, Lincoln Kienholz, Julian Sayin. Percentage in terms of likelihood that each of those guys is the starting quarterback come this fall.
I'll go young guy first. I say 0%. And people may be upset with that. I don't care. He's a true freshman. He's not a Jeremiah Smith type player or a Caleb Downs type player, at least not right now. I put 0% for him. I would probably say 30% for Kienholz because he does have the athletic traits that make me realize that Hartline might want to utilize that. Also, just the long tenure there in the program, being the longest tenure guy there. And I would probably say the other 70% is going to Julian Sayin. Kienholz is a better thrower right now than he was at this time a year ago. Sayin is also a better thrower right now than he was this time a year ago. But I think it's 70-30. Sorry, the young guy. Sorry, in St. Clair. I can't give you anything right now because I don't see a scenario where Ryan Day is going to start a true freshman, especially when you got those 2 guys above them that are really good quarterbacks and really good players. I would say 70% Sayin, 30% Kienholz. It probably should be more 75-25. But I have a a gut feeling that Kienholz is going to show a lot of people out there he has what it takes to be a Buckeye starting quarterback.
Lastly, Jay, I've been on a mission to find the most important transfer for every team that I talk about here on the show. Who from the portal does Ohio State need to pop for them to reach their ceiling this year, which is probably get back to the playoff, maybe national semifinal?
Probably Ethan Onianwa, the left tackle transfer from Rice. Call me crazy for going with an offensive lineman, but Spencer,
I don't think you're crazy.
You watch college football. You know what Ohio State went through last year, going down to their 9th offensive lineman, rotating at guards in the playoffs, doing things you really don't think about, moving a guard to a tackle who now may be a first-round pick. You don't really think about those things and say, oh, in the next year, the following team may have to deal with that again, but that's reality. Ohio State had to deal with so many issues, injury issues on the offensive line, but when you could pick up a guy that some NFL people say could have been a 2nd or 3rd round pick this year, but stays in schools, transfers up to Ohio State, and he's going to protect the blind side of the starting quarterback. I'm not even going to put a name in this conversation. Just starting quarterback in general. That's the key. I could have added some other guys there, a Max Clair, a CJ St. I could have done that. But when you get that blind side correct, it makes a quarterback's job a whole lot easier. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. And for your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball with Andy Patton and Isaac Shea, because those are the two individuals you should listen to make sure your bracket is the way it needs to be, so you can win your office pool, so you can beat your friends and have bragging rights for another year. Find Locked On College Basketball and Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's having Locked On Buckeyes on a hump day. We'll see you next time.